July 1976. While France celebrates Bastille Day, a team of men descends into the sewers beneath Nice. Their target sits directly above them, the vault of one of France's largest banks. Over the long holiday weekend, they would breach the vault of the Société Générale, open hundreds of safe deposit boxes, and leave behind only a message spray-painted on the wall. The message read, "Sans armes, ni haine, ni violence." Without weapons. Neither hatred nor violence. It was a calling card, and it would become one of the most famous lines in criminal history. Albert Spaghiari was born on December 14, 1932. By his early 20s, he had joined the French paratroopers and served in the First Indochina War, a formative experience that shaped his discipline and daring. After the military, Spaghiari settled in Nice and built a career as a photographer. He was known as cultured, charming, and meticulous, a man who moved comfortably through the city's elite circles. His connections ran deep. Spaghiari served as an official photographer for Jacques Médecin, the mayor of Nice, traveling with him as far as Japan. To the outside world, he appeared a respectable professional. But beneath the surface, Spaghiari harbored far-right political sympathies. He claimed ties to an organization called Catena, though investigators later questioned whether this group actually existed. Spaghiari's military training had given him patience, organizational skill, and an appetite for risk. What it hadn't given him was a fortune. For that, he turned his attention underground, literally. He assembled a crew of at least 20 people, a team large enough to dig, haul, and work in shifts around the clock. And he chose his target carefully. The Société Générale branch on Avenue Jean Médecin, one of Nice's busiest streets. Before committing to the heist, Spaghiari devised an ingenious test. He rented a safe deposit box in the vault under a false name and placed a loud alarm clock inside. When no alarm was triggered, he knew the vault lacked acoustic or seismic sensors. The preparation took approximately 2 months. Starting from the sewer system beneath Nice, the gang dug a tunnel roughly 8 meters, about 26 feet, upward into the vault floor. The logistics were extraordinary. The gang used rubber rafts to navigate the sewer channels and installed hundreds of meters of electrical cable for lighting throughout the tunnel network. They set up picnic tables for meals, brought wine and food, and laid out air mattresses for sleeping. This was not a hurried job. It was a sustained underground operation, almost domestic in its comfort. Spaghiari chose the Bastille Day long weekend deliberately. The bank would be closed from Friday through Monday, giving the gang days of uninterrupted access to the vault. Once inside the vault, the gang welded the massive vault door shut from the inside. No one could enter. No one could interrupt. They had sealed themselves in with the contents of hundreds of safe deposit boxes. The gang opened hundreds of safe deposit boxes, taking cash, gold, securities, and valuables. The total haul was estimated at between 46 and 50 million francs, roughly equivalent to tens of millions of dollars. The true value may never be known. Many safe deposit box holders reportedly refused to declare their losses, likely because the contents had been hidden from French tax authorities. The heist exposed secrets that had nothing to do with the robbers. On Monday, July 19, 1976, bank staff returned from the holiday weekend and found the vault door would not open. Something was wrong. Specialists from safe manufacturer Fichet Bosch were called in. After hours of work, specialists breached the vault wall. Inside, they found devastation. Hundreds of deposit boxes ransacked, papers scattered everywhere, and the tunnel leading down into the sewer system. And there, on the wall, was the spray-painted farewell message. The gang had announced their philosophy before vanishing into the dark. They had left behind wine bottles, food remains, gas cylinders, but no fingerprints. For months, police had no solid leads. The crime scene was forensically clean. The gang had been meticulous. The investigation stalled, and the case threatened to go cold. Then came the break. A former girlfriend of one of the gang members contacted police with information. Her tip led investigators to several lower-level accomplices, who were arrested and began to talk. The arrested accomplices implicated one name above all others: Albert Spaghiari, the photographer, the paratrooper, the man who moved in the mayor's circle. Investigators now had their target. On October 28, 1976, Spaghiari was arrested upon returning from a trip to Japan, where he had been traveling with the mayor of Nice as his official photographer. The timing was almost absurd. The suspected mastermind had been hiding in plain sight. Spaghiari initially denied involvement, but under questioning, he eventually confessed and provided investigators with a detailed walkthrough of the vault and the operation. He seemed almost proud of what he had accomplished, but Spaghiari refused to name his accomplices. He took sole credit for the planning and execution, shielding the rest of the gang from prosecution. Of at least 20 people involved, only 6 were ever arrested. Then came March 10th, 1977. Spaghiari was brought before Judge Richard Bouaziz for a pre-trial hearing at the Palais de Justice in Nice. What happened next would become legend. During the hearing, Spaghiari presented a fabricated document to distract the judge. Then, in a single decisive motion, he leapt from a courthouse window, landed on a parked car below, and sprinted to a waiting motorcycle. He was gone within seconds. The motorcycle carried him away from the courthouse, away from custody, and into more than a decade on the run. The identity of the motorcycle driver has never been publicly confirmed. Rumors later circulated about the driver's identity, but no confirmed evidence ever surfaced. What was certain? Albert Spaghiari had escaped French justice in broad daylight, and he would never be captured again. With Spaghiari gone, French authorities proceeded without him. He was tried in absentia in 1979 and sentenced to life imprisonment, a verdict delivered to an empty chair. The 6 arrested accomplices faced prosecution, but without Spaghiari's testimony and with limited physical evidence, no fingerprints had been recovered from the scene. The cases proved difficult to build. Spaghiari spent the next 12 years as a fugitive, reportedly moving between South America and Europe. He lived under assumed identities, always one step ahead of the law, never returning to France. On June 8, 1989, Albert Spaghiari died of cancer in Italy. He was 56 years old. His body was reportedly delivered to his mother's home in Hyères, in southern France, by unidentified men. He had never served a single day of his life sentence. Very little of the stolen loot was ever recovered. The Société Générale heist remained in many ways a crime without consequence for its mastermind. Whether Spaghiari was truly the mastermind or merely a participant would itself become a matter of dispute, a question that wouldn't be revisited for more than 3 decades. In 2010, more than 3 decades after the heist, a man named Jacques Cassandre published a book claiming he, not Spaghiari, was the true mastermind of the Société Générale robbery. The statute of limitations for the robbery itself had long expired, so Cassandre could not be charged for the heist. But French authorities prosecuted him for money laundering and other related charges, and secured a conviction. Cassandre's claim introduced a new narrative, that Spaghiari had been a charismatic frontman, not the criminal architect. The truth remains disputed. What is beyond dispute is the heist itself, its audacity, its precision, and its almost theatrical flair. The Société Générale heist transformed French criminal folklore. A non-violent robbery carried out with military precision, gourmet meals underground, and a poetic farewell message. It read less like a crime and more like a novel. But the romance obscures a harder truth. Laws were broken, trust in financial institutions was shaken, and the victims, many of whom couldn't even admit what they'd lost, were left with nothing but empty boxes and silence. Roughly tens of millions of dollars vanished beneath the streets of Nice in the summer of 1976. To this day, almost none of it has ever been found. A new case drops every day. Subscribe so you never miss one.